Hello everybody, it's Tuesday, it's May 10th, it's 2011, this is Day 9 Daily number 303. You'll notice it's looking darker in my room today. It's not because we're in a somber mood, it's because my camera driver's updated and everything's very dark now. There's some very depressing, sad, melancholy drivers, but that's fine. Because I will be enthusiastic today. Oh, yes, enthusiastic even for me. Today is awesome because let me show you what I picked up today. Let me show you what I picked up. Yeah? Yeah, that's right. Look at this. I got myself a little graduation cap. I'm not graduating today. Just had to do a little rental. Yes, scholarly day 9. Doesn't sit on because I'm wearing headphones, but that's fine. I'm super duper ultra crazy educated. Yes. Yes, I'm graduating soon. Feeling good, feeling great. And today, I've been wanting to do a little bit of focusing on the Zergy pieces because I like Zerg and because I've neglected them. Oh, how sad. Because there was a period of time we were going like crazy with the Zerg stuff and I was like, ugh. And then I did Terran and a little Protoss. Now we're going to just pop right on back to Zerg again. Very excited about that. And in the spirit of Newbie Tuesday, although there was no planned Newbie Tuesday... In the spirit of Newbie Tuesday, even though there was no planned Newbie Tuesday topic for you to submit replays for, there was a little bit of a planned theme today, which is the idea of how you deal with something that I call a non-trigger. Because there's always talk about how do you end up scouting your opponent. You hear me say a lot of methods like scouting the front. You hear me talk about things, or, Spenny Shua talk about things like getting an overseer really fast because he wants to pop in there and see exactly what the opponent is doing. But there's something that I want to call a non-trigger, which is that by not seeing something, you respond in a certain way. We're going to see that pop in today from a game by Lalush. We're going to see him do a variety of interesting decisions at the start of the game, where he doesn't really see much of anything, but he still is going to respond in a fairly sharp way. And also, he is going to see some things, and it's going to be awesome. And one thing that I wanted to begin this discussion of scouting with was this amazing riddle that I love, because it's so easy to think in terms of, I need to see it, and I need to know. You don't exactly need to know. And a lot of times, people do this kind of, I better not make a decision until I do know. Kind of like, we don't know if we're going to go to the pizza store, or the ice cream store, or the circus. So I should drive in the middle of all of them, and then I'll make a turn whenever I find out where we're going. That seems to be a pretty reasonable way to think of it. But here is a puzzle that I want to throw at you. So, I lay 3 cards out, and I tell you 2 of them are aces, and 1 of them is a jack. They're all face down. 2 of them are aces, 1 of them is a jack. You point to a card, and then you ask me a yes or no question. And your goal is to find the ace. So you point to a card, you ask me a yes or no question. If you're pointing to an ace, I will answer your question truthfully. If you're pointing to the jack, I will answer randomly. I will just give a yes or no and not even pay attention to what you're asking me. So how do you find this ace guaranteed 100% of the time? So let's go through that one. Here is how you do it. One more time, 3 cards face down. 2 of them are an ace, 1 of them are a jack. Point to a card, ask me a yes or no question. If you're pointing to an ace, I answer it truthfully. If you're pointing to a jack, I answer it randomly. Here's the way you do it. You point to the center card and you say, is the left card an ace? And if I answer yes, you flip over that card. If I answer no, you flip over the other card. Why will this always work? Pretend the center card is an ace, right? So I point to it and I ask, is the left card an ace? Well, all right, well, sweet. If you're pointing to the center card, if you're pointing to the ace, I'm going to answer it truthfully. So if you say yes, I flip that card. Oh, it's an ace. If I say no, well, I'm still answering truthfully. So it's this card. Oh, I flip it. It's an ace. Now, what if the middle card's a jack and I'm giving you that random answer? Well, it doesn't even matter at all what the hell answer I give because both of these cards are aces. So whatever decision I make, it's going to be fine as it is. Now, if you're watching live and you were a little bit confused, I'm terribly sorry because I'm not going to go back and rewind. But if you're watching this on the Blip archives, you're still confused, feel free to go back through that again and sort of think through it. The important thing is that in the end result, we won the game. We revealed an ace. And the cool aspect of it is the card I was pointing to, I never knew what it was. I never knew whether it was actually telling me a truthful bit of data. I never knew if it was actually giving me random data from what I was pointing to. All I needed to know was that in the end, I was actually getting the chance to see the card that I wanted to. I was getting a chance to win the game. And this is something that happens a lot in a game like StarCraft 2 or in any game where there is incomplete knowledge. What you're doing is you're essentially saying, what information can I have to sort of be guaranteed to get in a good position, regardless of whether I was right or wrong at any point. I wanted to get to that good endgame position. So we're now going to pop in here to this game by Lalush, and we're going to see everything that is awesome. Come on, sweetie. Come on, little replay. There we go. That's a good replay. That's my little friendly replay buddy guy. All right, so we're going to see Lalush spawn here in the left position, as is typical for the Zerg players. And we're going to see Braddock spawn in the right position as that good old friendly red Terran. Now, what we are going to do is I want to briefly blast through just the start of... Actually, let's do it from Lalush's point of view. No, you know what? I guess I do want to go through Braddock's point of view. We are just going to briefly go and get a glimpse at what he is doing, right? A glimpse at what he is doing. So that way we have this center point that we can always come back to. He's going to do a very clever little one barracks expandy deal with the sound enable. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Is my sound even like higher than normal? Yes, indeed it is. Holy crap, those things crashed. Stupid patch changes. By the way, can I just state, Blizzard, would you stop patching StarCraft 2 like an hour before my daily begins? Oh, I had to go to this like 1.3.1.1.42 sort of replay, and it was like so annoying. Oh, gosh. How tragic my life is. And of course, this will do nothing but botch all your settings permanently. Fantastico. So let's sort of go through it. Oh, he's going to get himself some geysers really quickly. That's good stuff. That's great stuff. He's going to get a factory really, really quickly. And what we're going to see Braddock do is just go straight man mode. Look at this. He's getting tanks with siege. He's getting stim right away. He's going to be getting 2 more barracks. He's getting himself his star fort. Mining lots of gas. Getting lots of marines. He's pretty much getting all those early upgrades that he can possibly humanly afford. In particular, stockpiling with a lot of tanks. Now, I just want you to look at the way that he did that. It was very seriously a kind of hardcore standard build. What the hell do I mean by hardcore standard? Well, we usually go for marines and tanks and medevacs, but he's like super going for that. Expanding really fast, getting his tanks and his marine upgrades really fast. Nothing weird, not getting any sort of Hellions or Banshees or Marauders or anything unusual by any means. Just straight up man mode. Now, we're going to see pop out of Lalush. What we're going to see pop out of Monsieur Lalush is a series of very clever things that are going to end up happening, because what we want to end up doing with any race is we want to play this deductive logic game that you heard me say earlier on. You want to play this, well, if he's revealing me that little bit of information, then I will likely know this and this and this. So I can respond with method X, which will end up getting me in a good position. No matter what. We're going to see some explicit examples, but similar to how in that little card game I mentioned at the start, we never knew if it was a jack or an ace that we were pointing to. We might never know what real strategy our opponent is doing, but we're going to be responding in a clever enough way by what we call a non-trigger, which is one of my favorite things ever. A non-trigger is basically what I mean as follows. You might do something like say, holy shit, he expanded, I better expand again. Right? That is what I call a trigger. You see him do something, so that triggers you to do something else. A non-trigger is when you don't see him do something, so that triggers you to do something. So for instance, oh my god, he has not expanded yet. Better make a whole bunch of sunken colonies. Seems reasonable enough, right? Seems very, very reasonable enough. Pretty typical, like if I'm playing a Zerg vs. Protoss, and my Protoss player, at 6 minutes and 15 seconds, he has not taken his expansion, I'm going to kind of go, whoa, 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 where's the expansion, man? Where is that expansion? I better make an extra spine crawler. I better make an extra queen, because I didn't see you expand at the usual time. Now, By the way, that's actually probably the greatest example ever. That's a sick example. Holy cow, did you see that just happen? So let me just say that one more time. If I'm Zerg and I'm playing against a Protoss and at 6 minutes and 15 seconds I do not see his expansion nexus go down, I'm going to start to freak out. Well, I guess I'd be closer to 6 minutes and 30 seconds now that the new patch has changed with the warp gate change. I'm going to start to freak out because I know that something's up. He should have expanded by then if he went for a 3-gate sentry early expand. So by not seeing it, that triggers me to build a spine crawler, an extra queen, or some other shenanigan. So here's the obvious question that someone would ask. Okay, Day 9, I didn't see him expand. I saw no expansion. I built my extra defense, and it turned out he was going Void Rays, and that helped me. Or it turned out he was going a 4-gate all-in, and that helped me. But what if he just expands late anyways? What if he was just bad, and I built this extra queen, and I built this extra spine crawler, and he expands at 7 minutes and 15 seconds? No problem! No problem, because what he did was a shitty early expand. Whatever early expand plan you had, you can easily just transition over to that, and all you built was an extra spine crawler, an extra queen, maybe a handful of extra units, and it's fine because he lost so much money by delaying that by 1 minute that the position I wanted to end up in anyways, the winning position, was there revealed before me. Oh, how fantastico. So that's part of the reason why you always hear me talk about here's a timing, here's a timing, here's a timing. His Marine will be done right now. Like, for instance, at 3 minutes, or about 2 minutes and 45 seconds, if he built a barracks on 12, at 2 minutes and 45 seconds, that barracks on 12 should be finishing up. Let's see. Uh-oh. It looks like it's a few seconds away. Hey, it looks like it was finishing up around 2 minutes and 40 seconds, as is anticipated. How fantastic. All right, cool. All right, sweeto, bandito, burrito. Now, just for the record, you can leave a drone here, and you can do all sorts of fanciness with the non-trigger. You can send the scouting drone back right when a Terran usually expands, and you can just count to whenever Hellions usually come out, and you can get so much freaking information by this. I mean, one of my favorite little things to do is like, let's say I see a player, I just poke up the top of his ramp, and I see a good amount of Marines and no Hellion. I mean, a lot of times I'm just like, oh, I guess the Banshee's coming, right? And it's sometimes one of the awesomest things ever when I just prepare for it and the Banshee just floats right in there. And if it turns out he was doing something different, it's okay. It's gonna be okay. It's fine, right? Because I'm gonna do little subtle moves to put me in the good position. So, alright, so what did we see? We saw a barracks. We saw no gas. This is where you start playing the possibility game. Name the 2 obvious possibilities, dearest viewers. Name the 2 obvious possibilities. The 2 obvious possibilities would be ba-da-da-da-dum, ba-dum, ba-bum, ba-dum, ba-da-bum, ba-bum, ba-bum, ba-dum. Oh yeah, what's on my hand? Mass Effect. Mass Effect, because there's someone who wanted to borrow Mass Effect, and I keep forgetting to do it. Hey, look, everyone! Literally, congratulations to everyone watching the stream. If you're watching the stream, do this. Be like, yeah, I'm the man. I'm doing it. I'm alone in my room. I don't care. You should do it too. 2 racks. Early aggression or a early expansion. Those are the 2 possibilities. Cross off fast Banshee harass. Cross off crazy tank pushes. Cross them all off. 2 distinct primary possibilities. And yeah, he could be going like 7 racks. Yeah, he could just be shitty. But those are the 2 we're dealing with. Those are the 2 possibilities that lay before me. So we're going to see a drone hang out in the middle of the map. Oh, we're going to see another drone do a little poking around in the center-ish area. How nifty-tastic. We're seeing some larvae get saved up, and we're seeing this drone swing around. This was absolutely brilliant, I thought. He's swinging it around because he is going to see one of 2 things. A lot of Marines or an expansion. Oh, no expansion. Oh, I don't see a lot of Marines. I don't see Marines getting made. Sometimes I'll even sit here and wander around for a minute. Uh-oh, Marines getting made. Turns out there's a command center there. In the production tab, we do see Lalush getting 6 whole Zerglings out. I actually don't think that he was as aware that it... Oh yeah, never mind. He saw these 2 refineries, so now he knows. But he even saw making 6 Zerglings and all that sort of goody goodness. Probably ideally would have liked to not make as many Zerglings. But he's basically ended up in a situation where he's okay. Now, it's kind of funny to note that at this position in the game, now that we've spotted these 2 frickin' duders, these 2 Duders, refineries. Excuse my inability to remember the basic buildings in the game. Now that he has essentially identified what path his opponent is going down, he's just going to cross off 2 barracks. And now he's only dealing with 1 opening. Early expands. Doesn't that help? Doesn't that help you now? Honestly, if I am a Zerg player, I actually have 3 openings that I'm thinking of. 2 racks, early expand, fast gas. Those are the 3 that I generally think about. Most 2 racks pop on into the early expand, but that's fine. Not going to worry about that too much. Because right now, I am feeling so freaking safe. And for a moment, let's even pretend that we didn't see these gas geysers. Let's pretend for a moment that we didn't see them. We're going to get our queens out. We're beginning to do all sorts of spitage. I want you to think about everything based upon our deductive logic game where we don't really get to see that much. We still haven't seen an expansion yet. In fact, we don't know that there's this little hiding expansion. You're probably almost certainly going to expect it as Lalush. Why? Because you have... Actually, this is one of the greatest examples of deductive logic use in this game. Okay, we have not seen a command center. Why would we still assume an early expand? Well, because we have not seen really fast gas. We've seen a kind of delayed gas. We have not really seen that many Marines. He's either the worst Terran in the world, or he just has a command center that we haven't seen. Or he has like maybe 4 barracks that we haven't seen, but I still would kind of, yeah, that seems weird to like hide 4 barracks and then get a double geyser. I imagine it's possible. It's just so unlikely. And we're popping up here. Incidentally, I won't actually tell you what that structure is. I mean, you can see in the production that it's a factory, so I guess I did tell you what structure it is. Haha. But we're basically seeing Lalush constantly poking and prodding in here. Look, he's just trying to get a sense of this expansion. That's really what he's looking for. I will reopen the production. Making oodles and oodles and oodles of drones. Zerglings ending up pulling back. Oh, how wonderful. And let's see, what does Lalush do with his first 100 gas? What will he end up doing? Will he get a layer? Will he get Zergling speed? It looks like he will count to 10 and do nothing. He will not do anything. Come on, Lalush. Come on, dude. Actually, he's just still making drones. Alright, well, I guess we don't have speed yet. I would love to see one of his tech pattern choices. Getting another gas geyser. Actually, oh, there's the latest speed that you'll ever see. Could have thrown that down earlier without that much of a problem. But interestingly enough, we're seeing 2 spine crawlers get thrown down. Interestingly enough. I will remove this. And here is one of my favorite moves in the whole game. Roach Warren going down. Now, this is an example of, we haven't really seen anything. What have these Zerglings done? Not that much. We basically know that he has an expo. We basically know that he has some gas geysers going down. I want you to reach into your bucket of early opening strategies that Terran can do once he has expanded. I want you to enumerate them. I want you to list them out. All right. Foosh. Thwatch. All right, let's list some of them out. I guess you could go for big racks play. This would be something like 4 racks, maybe getting some stim combat, maybe getting some marauders. Good, so that's awesome. He could be probably going for a racks tank play. This is very boxer-esque, right? This is probably the standard where we maybe have 3 racks. We'll have a factory-ish up, you know, with some tanks. Eventually, medevacs. Let's start thinking of some more unusual ones. There's actually some interesting 2-port Banshee plays where you get 2 ports and you make Banshees. Good, excellent. This is a fantastic use of the notepad. Thank you very much, notepad. So, what are some other ones? We can go 2 factory Hellion. Ooh, I actually like this one a lot. So I'm even going to put a little happy face here. So we can do something like, well, what is this? Well, there's 2 factories making blue flame Hellions. You also have some extra racks. By the way, part of the reason why I like this so much is because I put pressure on my opponent with Hellions. Num 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 num, and I can keep making some barracks units, racks Marines, and keep making barracks units. And then while I'm harassing with the Hellions, I just start churning tanks out 2 at a time, and I go back into this racks tank play. Ooh, all right. Let's just leave these 4 up for now. And let's just note that I hit a really high octave. Let's just do that. Here's 4 really common possibilities. This would probably be the least common, but it's still there. In fact, sometimes I'll even put it as a little parenthesis. Sometimes it's just a one-port Banshee. Very occasionally you'll see this, but let's just put it here just to make our problem seem harder. My problem seems rough as Zerg, doesn't it? Here are 4 frickin' possibilities, and how do I end up dealing with this? It's all through the art of non-triggers, not seeing things, accounting for possibilities using our deductive logic. And at this point in the game, as we are just doing our usual thing, please make a layer, please make a layer. Please, Lalush, please. Very good. He is making a layer. Oh, he has 3 extractors up. And he just has some vision of the middle. So, now comes a very, very important thing. Good. Let's come back to my little card game at the start. So once again, let us briefly review the card game. We have 3 cards face down. 2 are aces, 1 is a jack. I point to a card and ask a yes or no question. The other dude, the dude at the bazaar, will answer the question truthfully if I'm pointing to an ace, and randomly if I point to a jack. And my goal is to reveal an ace. I went through that whole process, and that was fine. And the one thing that I want to note is the subtlest part of that entire thing is the goal. We want to reveal the ace. You always talk about me saying things like have a mid-game plan, make sure you have an overall structure of what you're going for and where you want to win. And in fact, the day 9 build order method, just thinking of how we do our usual game plans, is mid-game first, and then briefly late game, and then early game last, right? This is the order that I like to go in, and that's because that whole fancy little card game that we did at the start, all the interesting aspects that we did revolved around trying to wiggle our way to that end goal. So here, when we're looking at Lalush's play, let's talk about some goals that we want to have as Lalush, right? Let's talk about some goals that we would love to have. I would love to be going for a Muta, Baneling, Zergling combo with some upgrades. Excellent. I would love to have this gold expansion up. Good. I would love to eventually get Broodlords, and that is where I'm going to win the game. Cool, I'm skipping straight to the late game. Right, good. So I got my early game, Ling, Baneling, Muta, with a lot of drones and that tasty, tasty, yummy gold expansion. I want to be getting Broodlords, and because I love to plan ahead, I will even like a macro hatchery, as players are calling it. A hatchery in my main, just dedicated to making me oodels and oodels of extra units. Cool, I have a plan. Not an unusual plan. Very typical plan. Part of the reason I chose this game, right? That is a good plan. So now what we're going to note is we're going to see Lalush begin wiggling his way to the end, right? Wiggling his way into the later stages. Why this wall off? Well, hey, because we've seen him expand, this 2-factory Hellion thing that can be really obnoxious, especially if he pushes out with Marines, I want to be prepared for that with these 2 spine crawlers. I'm also going to include a building at the front to constrict movement. And I can even make some emergency roaches should my little Lingy at the front see exactly what he's doing. I have not yet seen anything come out of my opponent. I have not done a huge deviation as Lalush. I haven't, walled in my base fearing the spine or fearing the Hellions. I haven't tried to mass speed Zerglings, because you'll note that this is just a subtle way to account for a possibility. I'm not trying to straight up kill anything, because I haven't seen anything. I'm just accounting for it. I'm just accounting for that possibility. Similar to how we said, hey, if I'm pointing to an ace, I'm going to be okay. I've accounted for that. If I'm pointing to a jack, I'm still going to be okay. So cool. If he's going for the Hellions, I'm going to be okay. If he's not going for the Hellions, I'm still going to be okay. I'm still okay. What information has Lalush gained at this point? Nothing. Not a damn thing. But what are we seeing right now? We're seeing a Baneling nest get made. Oh, hey, this is a pretty good timing for a Baneling nest. If he does some sort of, I don't know, say a big Rax play, we'd probably want some defense, such as with, I don't know, speed Zerglings, some speed Zerglings. We'd probably want some spine crawlers at the front. you're starting to see how this defense of possibilities has merged together. Let's actually pull back for a moment. And I want to note something quite briefly. This factory has actually been done for a while, and around 9 minutes and 30 seconds, that's, well, if you're against a 2-raxing player, that's kind of the time where if you went 2 racks, expand, and then you start to get some gas, 9:30, 10, you end up seeing some Blue Flame Hellions. I'd have to double check that number, but I think that's right. I want to say that's right. Let's assume for the moment that is right. If it was at 10 minutes and I didn't see any Hellions, I would immediately just be like, yep, not going to be building any roaches. I would just kind of cross that thing off because I hadn't seen anything pop out. So you'll see funny moments in Zerg play where the Zerg will kind of just be a little bit concerned and, oh, cool, now we actually did scout something definitive. We saw a tank pop out. Fantastic. So this Baneling Nest, look, this is actually quite good timing on the Baneling Nest. This player scouted right before the Baneling Nest got done. And if there was no tank, how do you think he'd respond? He might very likely get Baneling speed. Seems like a very reasonable decision. I might be up against a big Marine Marauder play where having speed would be very, very useful, and I could use my creep spread. Quite advantageously with that speed to be able to deal with it. And you'll notice I'm pausing tons and tons and tons and tons to notice how well this Creep Tumor helps to account for this possibility of this 4-axe. How well this accounts for the possibility of a 4-axe play. How well this Roach Warren accounts for the possibility of a Blue Flame Hellion play. How much this Queen at the back of our base will account for if he's opening up with some kind of Banshee. We don't really need that much support because, again, we have the Spire that's sort of tying all this together. Once we get the Spire up, we really can regain a little bit of control. And the reason I'm spending so much time at all these points is because if you are an average bear, first of all, props to you for manipulating a keyboard without any good posable thumbs. But also if you're an average bear, you're going to be watching games and you're going to basically be looking at this game. I will actually pretend I am one of you. This is one of the more typical ways that players will go through a game is that they will just note that nothing that noteworthy is happening, and they'll just kind of go, yeah, he's getting the Zergling speed, yeah. Okay, cool, alright, he's getting a hatchery, alright, yeah, I guess early expanding is good, alright, I guess he's getting some lings, alright, cool, I guess he's making some lings. No one will really, if they're an average person, stop and say to themselves, I guess he's making these 6 Zerglings because he saw no gas in the main. And I guess he hasn't yet seen an expansion. And very few players will be like, oh yeah, look, he's getting these fast gas. And that, as a result, motivates this Zerg to account for some possibilities and throw down some Spine Crawlers. Look, 2 Spine Crawlers and a Roach Warren that literally don't do anything in the early game. But too often players will go, yeah, okay, so he's making some Zerglings, he's making some defense, he's making some speed. Speed's normal. He's making a Baneling Nest. Baneling Nest is normal. But all these timings are actually very, very subtle and very, very clever. One actually clever little thing to note. Let's actually pop on over to Terran Hill. What has Terran seen? Jackson. He's seen nothing. All right, but what we're noticing is that, oh my goodness, I can see now why having timings is so essential to me being a good player. Why is this move out safe? Why on earth is this safe? Why is this move out safe? It's a little bit of a tactics. It's a little bit of timing. Why is this so safe to move out right now with Zerg? Alright, let's get some questions. Why on earth is it so good? Mike W. says the obvious, no mutas yet. That's right, that's why this is safe. Now, here a good question is, no mutalisks yet. That's the timing reason. Notice that Lalush basically went for a layer as fast as he could. He got the spawning pool, he got the speed, and then he got the layer, and now he's getting the spire, and it's still over 50 seconds out, because as you'll note, mutalisks do take 33 seconds to build, so it's a long-ass time. This is also safe because if at any point there's a shit ton of Zerglings or Roaches or Banelings, he loads up into the medevac and flies on home and will end up losing, it looks like, 1, 2, 3 Marines. Very safe, very safe. Look at this wonderful Terran player who has scouted how much? Absolutely nothing. He has scouted not a thing. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. He's scouted absolutely nothing. So now we're starting to see how all this accounting for possibilities by Lalush is so good. Look at this. 2 banelings. Only this and nothing more. Quote day 9. Holy shit, that's awesome. Didn't quite line up with the meter of Edgar Allan Poe's poem, but still equally as elegantly worded. That is an example of a very good little response-a-roo. We've just gotten little snippets of information. A tank that killed us. We see this little medevac drop pop out. Immediately, I'm saying to myself, I do not need Baneling speed for a while because I've seen tanks, I've seen medevacs. I know he cannot really have that much stuff. Indeed, we see not that much stuff at all. Our Spire is now going to finish, and what we're going to see Lalush do? He's saving up everything. No huge excess of Banelings being made. No huge excess at all. He saw almost nothing. Again, I want to point out how extraordinarily, incredibly baller and subtle that is. He saw just a tank and just a medevac. But because he's combining exactly what he's seen with his knowledge of timings, he knows what his opponent can't possibly be doing. So, well, I mean, what if he's going Blue Flame Hellion or something like that? Well, he just can't quite be doing that, because he can't both be going Blue Flame Hellion and be getting siege tanks and be getting a dropship all at the same time. He could go Blue Flame and get a dropship. He could go tanks and get a dropship. Can't really do both. This is why I always encourage people to write down optimal times where things can happen, because it just removes so much fear and so much guesswork. We haven't seen any Blue Flame Hellions come out. I guess we're just not really going to make roaches that much, but we certainly accounted for it. We certainly accounted for it. And now that we know that this medevac thing is out, I love this throwing down an evolution chamber, starting to kill off maybe some destructible rocks. And we're going to see Zerg go right back to making drones. There he is. I actually think Terran's probably a little bit surprised to see this done so soon. This is honestly a big shock to Terran who've seen this. And yeah, now he's going back and he's going to make himself a good amount of drones. He's getting upgrades. He's doing generally powery things because, hell, we've seen tanks, we've seen medevacs. We haven't really seen that many Marines. What? How can you say that? Because we saw a tank fast, we saw a medevac fast. Can't really have that many Marines, can he? So our Mutalisks are now way more powerful than they ordinarily would, is what I almost say. But they're more powerful than they ordinarily would be, because if it's a huge Rax play, our Mutalisks are a little weaker. They're going to be a little bit weaker. So we can't necessarily do something like expand and power like crazy, right? We really, if we're against a big Rax play, what would we have done? Well, we would have probably favored getting Baneling speed before we devoted a ton to our Mutalisks. Starting to see how we're kind of branching. Again, the whole reason this is an awesome situation to be in, and why this is an awesome example, is that we had an end goal. Mutaling Baneling. Get some upgrades, get some bases, smash some faces with Broodlords at the end. Simple freaking statement, but it's so useful because we're snaking there constantly. Hey, if I was up against some Blue Flame Hellions, you know what? I'd make some roaches, and I'd use those roaches to knock down this wall early. Take that, and then I'd go right back to getting some mutas, right back to getting some Baneling speed. If you want to know what I'm talking about, watch NEST against SC Foe U on Twilight Fortress. You will see some amazing snake arounding going on by NEST. And just by accounting for some possibilities and appropriately doing his business. Look at that second little macro hatch going down. Ooh, this emergency backup queen that we use to deal with our drops, yeah, that can now be used at our expansion. How nifty-tastic. Moving around, Braddock is starting to get himself a solid little setup. Let's go back to Zerg Town, USA. Making some extra drones. Probably not going to be that many more drones made after this point, as Lalush has essentially set himself up magnificently. Does he need Burrow or not? I do not care. That I would label that as a stylistic choice. That is an excellent stylistic little move by Lalush. Yes, Lalush, jag dessus. Jag très dessus times 2. Lalush moving out, moving around. And at this point in time, I would say that Lalush... By the way, why the hell am I going into these high octaves? I would say Lalush is super duper goso. Oh. Oh. Yeah, and I would... Gosh, why am I getting so hot? I would say that probably any gold or platinum level player is going to be fine once he's here. If I plopped a platinum or gold level player here and I was like, go do your thing, what would he do? He'd be making a lot of mutas and zerglings and banelings, rolling them around, getting upgrades, getting those brood lords, sipping a margarita on a beach. It's pretty straightforward. Interestingly, getting here is the really hard part, and we got the chance to see a lot of cool snaking and wiggling around. Now, this is an interesting little moment. This is an interesting point where we're going to see the Zerg player start to lose a little bit of hold. We're going to see some cool moves pop out from this. But all that snaking around, all that accounting for possibilities, can potentially be a little bit dangerous, a little bit dangerous. Now, you know, I suppose it's appropriate for me to briefly note some of the stuff that Idra said in terms of the podcast that I did on the State of the Game thing, because it's very easy to listen to Idra and to either go, ooh, that's totally right. Oh, you can't scout a Zerg. It's like too imbalanced. Or, oh, he's totally wrong. That's so dumb. The important thing in all of that is to note that Idra has a completely valid experience. That it's very frustrating to have this lack of knowledge of information. And it doesn't matter in this discussion, watching this game, what does it mean? Is it true that this or that is the case? Because it's so true. I know that there's players out there who have shared that exact same experience as Idra. I absolutely actually had that for like probably a 3 or 4 month stretch when I was trying to rework my Zerg vs. Protoss in Brood War, where I was just like, ugh, it feels so gross and ugh. And for any of you having that experience, definitely use these sort of non-triggers, right? Use these sorts of things with the timing and all this jazz. And this is an excellent, excellent, excellent little technique to sort of wind up where you want to go without actually really needing to see as much. Now, of course, I want to pop Idra out of that as an exception because, like, Idra knows about this sort of technique. I just wanted to state that a great way for anyone else to sort of like step in and to start really cracking these puzzles is to just note a lot of these times and to do subtle accountings for these possibilities, right? Subtle accountings like just building this little tiny roach warren, just extending this creep out a little bit more, and you'll end up being in good shape. And of course, Lalush doing some good little spotting here, and we're going to end up being ourselves in a very nice, happy little situation. Dun, 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 dun. So now we are seeing a probably pretty typical situation where, Lalush is going to move forward, and there's going to be probably one of the more painful executions, one of the more painful follow-throughs that we're going to end up see popping out. Here comes an infestation pit popping up. Going to be teching up to a hive, theoretically, instantly, but it doesn't actually end up happening. And this is one of these moments where if you're ever in a game situation like this, I honestly think it's always really important to divide it into like early game, mid game, late game, and just sort of by whatever arbitrary metric you so desire. That like, if you look at this particular situation, this actually looks quite good for the Zerg, right? This is, I would label as a comfortable situation. Terran is kind of going crazy with his macro. He's getting up his gold. It's not ideal. You definitely want to shut that one down. But I think that most Zerg players would be comfortable in this sort of situation. Now we're going to pull away from this idea of this non-trigger timing, identifying all this, identifying all that. And we're going to see, oh, yeah, there's some good Burrow Baneling usage. And that's always my favorite thing ever, is right when you lose all your Marines, you're just like, oh, God. And you try to throw down an extra scan. try to figure out what's up. But we're going to see the Zerg do a usual Zergling, Baneling, Mutalisk defense, do a little trading back and forth. And the reason I want to note that Zerg is in a good position at this... moved my window down. Hopefully that's centered. I'm not going to check because I can't at this point. But really looking at this moment, he's doing comfortably, and that's why I always want to note this little thing. Where's my notepad? Well, I guess I closed the old one. That you want to briefly have like an overall late game goal that you want to go for. Because just as we had this mid game goal that helped us wiggle around by noting all these good timings and good possibility, accounting and deductive logic and etc., 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 etc. Having that mid-game is how we ended up wiggling our way there. And this is the real part where I think caused Lalush to slowly lose hold of this game, is that this infestation pit popped out. We're going to end up seeing he does get some infestors. He's using his hatcheries to macro quite well. Always remember that with a gold, you have an absolute ridiculous amount of minerals. Sometimes I'm tempted to build a second hatchery just so I can go ling crazy. There's the infestors getting built. I mean... Lalush is literally getting absolutely everything that he wants. And this is really a race for both players. The Terran is trying to push to the Zerg as fast as he can to kill him off before he gets these ultra scary, frightening broodlords or any sort of hive tech. Oh, hey, cool, there's the other hatch. Where'd my train of thought go? Oh yeah, he's getting all the good stuff that you normally want. There's the flyer attack, level 2. There's all the... Oh yeah, I remember what I was talking about. Gosh, my brain is fried. This is what happens when I don't have sufficient caffeine pre-daily. But yes, so... Lalush, is racing to get these very powerful broodlords as the Terran is trying to prevent him from getting there. Because this Ling Baneling defense can only keep you alive so long if you're trying to directly encounter the Terran player. Most Terrans will have a solid enough setup here. You could go for counterattacks, you could go for any other sort of thing, but in terms of this moment in the game, we're seeing, oh, look, here's a good, easy-peasy cleanup, as all of you note, but I'm still noticing that this hive is quite late. Terran is going to slowly keep gooping his way forward. Goop, 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 goop. Yes, killing off the medevac and the dropship, and only now does the hive actually end up beginning. Braddock actually having incredible macro, has like a ridiculous number of barracks pumping stuff out, and is just being so methodical about slowly advancing his chunks forward. There is the siege tank, sieging himself up, and we're seeing the Zerg player looking in kind of a worse and worse and worse of a position. And suddenly, everything's starting to kind of fall apart for the Zerg. Terran's just kind of drilling this moment, and it's so easy at a time like this to misconclude something. Especially if you're playing the game. Rewatch the replay and ask yourself, am I ahead right now? Okay, good. Am I ahead right now? Okay, good. Or at the very least, am I where I want to be? Okay, good. Because I would honestly clearly label this as kind of a mistake in the late game. Definitely should have favored getting that hive earlier, or at least done something a little bit different. Just relying on this Ling Baneling business over and over and over again. Didn't end up working out too properly. Yeah, I'm trying to see if... I feel like there was one more thing I wanted to note, but alas, can't think of it, so let's just take some questions. Taking some questions from Markio's Question Grabber. Markio has a question grabber. Yeah. I love this thing. Markio just creates increasingly baller techniques for interacting with the audience on a daily basis. Alright, sweet. Coin Gray says, Dear Day 9 is a newer Zerg player without a thorough knowledge of standard strategies or timings. I'm not sure how I can utilize the strategies shown in this daily. It seems to rely a lot on metagame knowledge. What I would really note is that there's nothing wrong with just only accounting for the things that you have personally experienced. So let's say I'm a total newbie Zerg player. I log in for the first time ever. I have some good mechanics. I know how to early expand. And I encounter a 2-Rax player. That is the entire realm of possibility, right? A 2-Rax player, a 2-Rax player, a 2-Rax player, and then suddenly, I'm in a game against an early gassing player. Oh, and just slowly build upon your timings. You don't need to have a giant library of the knowledge that, you know, someone like me who watches a million games of StarCraft would have, or someone like Artosis who literally eats, sleeps, and drinks StarCraft a million hours a day. You can simply build from your repertoire of knowledge and establish your own timings from that. This whole non-trigger concept doesn't rely necessarily on the metagame. It can rely simply on what you have seen. And you can optimize this, by searching out replays of ultra awesome players, but you don't necessarily have to do any of that. You can just use your own experience. The non-trigger is the important one. Oh yeah, I will actually not be on State of the Game tonight because I have more busy work to do. So let's see here. So MDog01 says, Dear Day 9, when playing a Zerg or Terran, it seems your main goal is to try to curb stomp the Zerg before the scary units like Broodlords come out. Is there a more long-term way to play? Yeah, it doesn't have to be your goal that I gotta win now or I'm just dead, because that would kind of make the game mildly silly. But the big thing is that you want to really mess him up before he gets the Broodlords up. You can obviously do the responses like getting Vikings and that sort of jazz. You can obviously do the things like try to keep him low on expansions. But there is always that race moment where you're trying to do as much as you can or even win the game before those Broodlords come out. Or before any of his really scary hive tech comes out. And it's not because you see Broodlords and you're like, oh, I lost, see ya. It's more that the Broodlords are the first opportunity where Zerg can really begin putting a lot of direct pressure back on Terran. And by direct, I mean like attacking your front door as Terran. There's not that many mixes that can really bust down the front door early on. Perhaps some of the Roach, Zergling, Baneling layer compositions like on Xel'Naga Caverns. If the Terran's looking a little weak, you can obviously sort of attack it. But with Broodlords, your goal is to just break down the front. So yeah, seeing we're gonna take 2 more questions. Someone's saying, Dear Day 90, saying deductive reasoning is always better than inductive reasoning. I would just like to note that induction is like one of my favorite mathematical techniques because you literally never even have to have any intuition. You just go, well, it starts working, I guess it keeps working, it works. There you go. Done. Next. Yeah, okay, so Game Geek says, Dear Day 9, I watched that State of the Game and heard Idra's concerns. Could he resolve these problems with more of these anti-trigger solutions to fix his concern with feeling like he needs to defend against everything? So I will say on State of the Game, I don't think I did the best job of articulating my position. I want to briefly note, I think that the main focus was that we were quibbling more about balance versus can't discuss about balance. And what I actually was trying to do in this daily was to defend Idra's experience and justify that, oh god, it doesn't feel like I can scout properly. Oh, it feels so horrible. And I know that a lot of people have that experience, and this non-trigger sort of methodology is an excellent way to do that. I absolutely cannot speak at all for Idra's position, because I have no idea what sorts of triggers he uses. He obviously has much deeper knowledge of Zerg than I do, because he has only played Zerg for like a year and continues to perform well in tournaments with it. But this sort of thinking is what a lot of pros do. In particular, Liquid Tyler, I know, really, really likes doing this. This is, in general, a very good method for doing things. And if you are having an experience where you have all these triggers set up and you're in all these good... you have all these responses planned, but there's still just not quite enough information, feel free to get creative or even to really bend your build around a lot. Like, that's what happened when I saw Nesty play in GSL semifinals against SC4U. Just brilliant sort of things where I was like, oh, yeah, I guess maybe I was getting my Mutalisk too fast in this matchup. You are such a boss, Nesty. Yeah. So I'm gonna take another question. Taking one more question. Dark CS is Dear Day 9. The slow siege tank push looks unstoppable before Broodlords. What can you do? I love this question because it makes me think about how I used to hold off bunker rushes. Here's an interesting twist of thinking that I want to present to all of you. If you're really, really, really worried about preventing something from happening, emphasis on the word preventing, think about how the game would play out if you just let that happen, and what else could he possibly be bad at. So here is the way that I held off bunker rushes in Brood War, and a logic that I've utilized to mild success in StarCraft 2. Mild because I simply haven't tested it that much. I am having trouble with a bunker rush. What if I simply let the bunkers finish? Well, goodness, he's going to have some SCVs committed to that attack. He's going to have some Marines committed to that attack as well. What if I can actually trap all the units and workers there? Like if he does something like an 11 racks, 4 SCV, big Marine play, what if I just let that bunker go down, work around, cut him off, and try to crunch it? Completely ignoring whether or not he could just hold it off easily or not, because that obviously negates this entire concept. But if you let that finish and then you can kill it off after he's made a huge commitment, then you're actually ahead. The reason I use the example of the bunker rush is that too often people will be bunker rushed, and when the bunker finishes, they mentally say, I am fucked. I am so fucked. There is no way I can win because the bunker's done. If only I could do a recovery. And they'll try to hold it off, and we'll kill the bunker. They'll go, ugh, oh, now how do I win? But if you looked at the food count, you'd realize that you were actually 8 food ahead. Oh my goodness, that's incredible. So, an interesting way to, some interesting styles of thought we've seen is that you let a tank push happen, let it kill off an expansion, turtle up with a whole bunch of spine crawlers, and just counterattack his base. He's committed to having this position set up with all these tanks. The instant he unpositions those tanks, you can just kill it off. But while the tank push is happening, you can just kind of let him move forward and rely on the counterattacks. Generally, the more reasonable way to deal with it is just to say, well, it's unstoppable before Broodlords, so I will just make it my goal to delay it as long as possible. But I want to present to you that potentially unorthodox method of thinking to note that... God, my train of thought sucks today. To note that there are ways of sort of making someone overcommit a little bit, in particular in this game. If we can make our opponent really commit like mad to this whole missile turret tank thing, that maybe it ends up being okay if it does do a little bit more damage than we'd initially presumed. I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to bed. Not to bed, to work. My train of thought. Stop it, train of thought. No more. No more.